How's it going, everybody? It's Dave Meltzer here for the next 2 hours talking pro wrestling. We've got Bryan Alvarez here as well, and we'll be running down. We had quite a weekend of wrestling news. And, Bryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's good. I guess the first thing we should start with is last night's pay-per-view. And what were your thoughts?
I thought last night's pay-per-view was so awesome. I mean, the four-way was great. The best of three falls match with Hunter and Austin was great. The main event was great, except for the run-in by the Big Show. And I think that I hated it. Everybody I was watching hated it.
Everyone I talked to hated it.
I think Rock and Angle hated it. I think that every fan watching
I'm sure that referee didn't like it either.
Yeah, the referee was killed. I think the best part was when the referee's being carried to the back by the two other referees, and Earl Hebner noted that Angle was making a cover, so he just dropped the referee that he was carrying to run back in and make the count.
That was pretty funny. But you know when I watched that, I was cracking up, but it kind of took the edge off of the intensity of the match for about the next 90 seconds.
Oh, that whole run-in and the music playing and everything, I thought, why? What is the point of this? I mean, if you're going to put him in the world title hunt, then why give him the hardcore title? And even if you're going to put him in the world title hunt, why have him run in?
Okay, but why, at this point, should he be in the world title hunt? Okay, everything should be focused towards WrestleMania. And, you know, I mean, it's one thing for Helmsley to be in the world title hunt. But you don't need, what do we need, a fourth guy and do another four-way like last year?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure they're not, but I just think that, you know, I don't know. I'm presuming that they'll probably do something with a Rock and Big Show like on TV tonight or maybe in a week or so, just to set up a match. But if they were going to do that, they could have done it like with an Angle on like on Raw before the show or something.
Yeah. You
know, like in that early 30-minute interview segment.
And they did the Hunter and Austin with Hunter winning 2 of the 3 matches, so I guess he has... I actually think that was better than if Austin won both, because, I mean, if Austin won the series and then he wins a title, it's like, what does Hunter have? Did he just beat Austin once?
No, I thought it would have worked either way, as long as if Hunter would have beaten him clean in the wrestling match, and then Austin would have won the street fight, and then they did some sort of a fluky thing, where one of the things. I mean, I expected the cage to be one of those over the top and out things, which means that either guy could have won and it would have been okay. They would have had a gripe. To do that pin the way it was, I mean, I think it's good because, I think the way they're going to hype it on television is that Hunter beat Austin in 2 straight falls, after losing the first.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, well, I shouldn't say right now, as of last night, the plan was still Austin and Rock in a single match for WrestleMania. But I was also told that it could change.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking last night, they did the... I think it was it WrestleMania? What WrestleMania was that with Luger and Brett?
Luger, I don't know the number. I don't know the number, but it was no, that was.
I was kind of thinking they could do something like that, where it would be a 3-way, but not the same match.
WrestleMania 10, Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, so it would be like Hunter and Austin the opener, but then I realized that Hunter will never work the opener at WrestleMania, so that plan is out the window. So.
Okay, then the fourth guy throw an Angle, because right now they kind of don't have anything. Because what I was sort of told was there's not a big plan right now for Angle or Helmsley for WrestleMania, because I think they're going to go with Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. I don't know that for sure, but that's kind of the impression that I was given. So, what was I going to say? Oh gosh, I'm losing my train of thought here. So, they could go against each other in some sort of a number one contenders match, in which case Helmsley could beat Angle. That way Helmsley's on total roll, having beaten Austin and beaten Angle, since it pays him back for doing that last job to Angle.
Mm-hmm.
And, sets up Helmsley as the number one contender for Austin, which is obviously where they're going to go over the summer.
Yeah. And I mean, the way I was looking at it last night, you were talking the other day about, why do 3 stipulation matches on one show, because then what do you have for the summer? But, they already have now a street fight that Hunter won and a cage match that Hunter won, so they could really do 2 pay-per-views out of that. Just have one main event be a street fight and have Hunter go, hey, I beat you.
Well, no, they can do a regular match, a street fight, and a cage match at SummerSlam. Build it, they can.
You mean all 3 again?
No, one at a time. Or they could do something where you do, at the house shows, let's say they do a regular match on, say, the Backlash pay-per-view, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then, after that, they can do go in some other direction, and then go house shows with street fights everywhere, because I don't know if I want to see them in 3 pay-per-view main events over the summer, and then come back with a cage match.
I have a feeling you will, though.
And then come back with a cage match at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
At which point Rock can jump back in the picture.
Yep.
Or when Rock jumps back in the picture. They've got a lot of stuff. I just don't want to see Big Show in that picture, but
I don't.
He is.
I mean, I think I liked. I thought the main event was awesome, but they always have an awesome match. And I think I actually liked the 4-way better than you did, because I think it was better in the main event. Just because it was like, maybe it wasn't as good a match as the main event, but to do a 4-way match and have it be so awesome and not turn into a cluster, that was like as big a miracle to me as the women's match.
Yeah, the women's match was a miracle. That show was great. I thought Hunter did a phenomenal job. I'm not so sure that, when that thing was over, I thought maybe the third best wrestler in that company, and inside the ring, maybe even the second best, is now Angle.
Uh-huh.
After that match with Brock. Because I'd say Benoit being the best. Because with Helmsley, and Helmsley put on an incredible performance. They went 40 minutes, and it was never boring or anything like that. It was very close, it was probably, I don't know, what would you say was better, this or Hell in the Cell? Because I thought they're both...
I think this was better than Hell in the Cell.
Okay, it was a match of the year caliber match, without a doubt. But with the one thing when you notice with the Helmsley matches compared to the Angle match, in the Helmsley match, and in all of Helmsley's matches, and this has not been as a knock on Helmsley, but he has a lot more latitude in what he can do because of the type of match and the positioning of the match, even though Angle went on last, in that they can use the tables, they can use the blade, they use a lot of foreign objects, whereas Angle's matches, generally speaking, there have been exceptions, but like last night, that was a match where basically him and Rock were doing wrestling.
Yeah.
And they weren't doing objects, they were doing the near falls, and it's a harder match in the United States to get over, and I thought they did, an incredible job. Rock did very good, but, I watching that, I just thought, Angle, the way he sold that sharpshooter spot early on, and then, his execution of all of the moves, except for that thing, what was the deal with the finish? The first
That's
rock
what
bottom.
I'd like to know, too.
I think he forgot to kick out. I think he was supposed to kick out. It wasn't, that for sure wasn't supposed to be the finish. It was supposed to be 2 rock bottoms. And I think that either that or he was supposed to roll the shoulder and didn't roll it quick enough. It was very...
Well, I think they had the shot from the hard camera, so if he would have just, barely rolled, his left shoulder, we wouldn't have seen it. But the fact that all the fans thought that it was the finish means that the people on the other side didn't see it either, so I don't think he kicked out.
I think he forgot to kick out.
Yeah, but other than that was a hell of a match.
Yeah. Quite a weekend of pay-per-views. You didn't see the UFC, did you?
No.
That was a hell of a show, too. Very impressive.
Now, what happened in the main event? Because a friend of mine saw the show, and I said, how was the UFC? And he goes, I hated it. I said, why?
Really?
He goes, Tito Ortiz used an illegal hold, or an illegal move. And I said, what did he do? He goes, a headbutt. And I'm sitting here reading all these reports, and I didn't see a headbutt anywhere. So I don't know if he was watching the show or...
Okay, here's the deal. Okay, it was not an illegal move, but what he did was he basically did a belly-to-belly suplex on Evan Tanner, and the impact, and most people did miss the headbutt, but it wasn't really a headbutt. On the impact, what happened was the top of Tito's head smashed the jaw of Evan Tanner at the same time the back of Evan Tanner's head hit the mat, so he was crushed on both sides, and he was knocked unconscious for 35 to 45 seconds.
Wow.
And that was it. Tito threw in
so it extra.
It wasn't a headbutt, but the head did strike the chin on impact on the mat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an illegal move, but it is, I think, the combination of both. Everybody was saying there that it was the back of the head hitting the mat that knocked him out, but I think it was a combination of the head jamming the head into the mat and then the mat not having enough give. And yeah. In that sense, I was disappointed the main event only went 29 seconds. But it was the match with Pedro Hizzo and Josh Barnett was incredible match. I thought Encaro Uno and Jens Pulver had a really good match, and just the whole atmosphere. It was, believe me, it was like night and day, this UFC compared to others. I didn't get to judge though.
Did they have laser light shows for the main eventers and everything?
Yeah, they had a really good ring entrance for Tito Ortiz. It was the laser lights and the pyro. The Zuffa, and the Fertitas. they only bought the company 5 weeks ago, and so, a lot of the changes that are going to happen are slow, but, it was just the whole atmosphere there, and the fact that these guys clearly have a totally different tact as Bob Meyerowitz and as far as what to do. Bob Meyerowitz, I think his whole thing was to, cut the budget back as much as possible and kind of limp along until you're back on pay-per-view. And these guys are just like, we're going to put on these great shows and we're going to create this demand and have people get mad at their cable companies for not being able to see it.
Good luck, buddy.
I know. Well, but the thing is that he's, Meyerowitz had some enemies that had been made, which made it very difficult for the pay-per-view companies to reverse themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys, it's a fresh start, and these guys are going to try to market it as, hard as a sport. I don't know if they can do it, but one of the things that I know that they want to do, I don't know, is get a weekly television show with the idea that the weekly television show would then build up the pay-per-views, traditional, similar to wrestling. In fact, there's a lot of pro wrestling ideas. The show had a lot, more. They set up future matches. They did a better job. WWF did a good job of setting up future matches last night. I think that UFC actually did a better job than WWF even, as far as getting these matches, like our rematch with Shamrock and Tito Ortiz and Kevin Randleman.
Well, they have to, because they have no TV.
Well, the whole idea is to get TV, build up these pay-per-views, like you would do pro wrestling. And then people would, if they're watching the TV every week and then they can't see the pay-per-view, they are going to be more apt to yell at their cable company.
Yeah.
And that is the way that the cable companies eventually will be responsive. And plus, if they get sanctioning, Fertitta used to be a member of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. I was actually sitting right behind Dr. Flipomansky, who's a member of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. And, after every match, he was just jumping up and just going this is sport. Why would anyone? And this is a member of the commission. This is one of the guys who voted on it. This is ridiculous that anyone bans this stuff.
Yeah.
So they got a real advocate there. And once they're in Vegas and New Jersey, I don't know. It gives them a lot of credibility as far as that goes. I don't know what the future is going to bring, but everybody was very, very enthusiastic. And they had a packed house in Atlantic City. 5,000 people. And
going back to that promotion real quick, I think it's something that ECW should have done when they were doing their pay-per-views, because it was they had this TV. I guess with TNN it wasn't such a big deal because it was national, but once they lost TNN, it's they have this TV, but it's hardcore TV and not everybody gets it. And to do a pay-per-view and to finish the pay-per-view and only tell people when the next show is and not really tell them, what's going to be on it, it's anybody that doesn't get hardcore TV is just totally in the dark.
Well, but there's the counting on the internet, but you just can't do a big buy rate
based
on internet word of mouth. No. They're going to do Randy Couture and Pedro Hizzo, and the very next day, Randy Couture got a necklock submission, beaten by Valentin Overeem, and I think it was 56 seconds in the Rings King of Kings, which Antonio Nogueira won. And before we go on, I want to mention that I thought Friday's show was one of the funnest shows. In fact, I thought last week was probably my favorite week. Except we only did 3 shows, so maybe I shouldn't say that. But those 3 shows were I really enjoyed Tuesday, and then Thursday with Bad News Allen, who's one of my favorite guests, and Friday Bobby Heenan. If he was that good,
I expected to be replaced after that show.
If Bobby Heenan was that good, he'd have never lost his job with Vince, and he had certainly never lost his job on Nitro. He was phenomenal. Anyway,
that was a nice show.
Yeah, Don Fry was great, too.
Yeah, he was.
Frank Shamrock was real good. We're going to try to get Don Fry back on again. He was very funny. Let's see. XFL, real quick.
Hey, what'd you think of Tito digging the grave?
I thought that it was a great idea, except not then.
Yeah.
If he had beaten him with, a submission hold, or even, there was a knockdown, or the fight was stopped and Evan Tanner was fine, it's like showmanship. They're trying to give him a character and this is what he does after he wins his matches. Because this UFC is definitely built, around Tito. But, Evan Tanner at that moment was knocked out. They had 10 medics around him and they were about to put him on a stretcher and he's doing that. And no, I think in hindsight, if it was explained to him like that, I think that the whole idea was in his head, this is what I do when I win, because it's kind of that pro wrestling approach they're trying to take to get Tito over as this badass superstar, Stone Cold Steve Austin character. And I think that he did it because, he knew that that's what he was supposed to do and not really thinking that, this guy's really hurt and he's knocked unconscious and there was definite concern. And then he's like shoveling this grave, with him. It wasn't the right thing to do. So, yeah, no, very bad. Very bad. I'm trying to think. Anything else on that stuff to talk about?
I don't think so.
Okay. The XFL Saturday night game, I'm sure you didn't watch that either.
I missed it.
Yeah. That game...
Actually, let me tell you something, though. After the match I had Saturday night, I would have preferred to have watched the XFL game.
Why, you had a bad match?
Oh, my God.
Okay, tell
me. It was the
me.
most horrible match I ever had.
Really?
Yeah. I just want to get
What went wrong?
Everything. Everything that could go wrong could. And it did.
Really?
This poor guy had
no,
matches.
it didn't, because if everything could have gone wrong, you'd end up like Sid.
That is true. That is true.
I mean, if you're unscathed, then you just had a bad match.
I was not unscathed psychologically, though.
What happened?
I was wrestling this guy, and he had like 4 matches, and I just tried to idiot-proof the match, and it didn't work. I'll just leave it at that.
So Trish Stratus outdid you.
Oh my God, she did. I was so embarrassed watching that show, going, Stephanie McMahon and Trish Stratus just worked rings around me.
I think we really should give Trish Stratus a lot of credit for that match. I mean, it wasn't the best match, and probably technically it was the worst match on the show, but...
I don't know if I would even say that, though.
Well, hardcore match was worse, maybe?
Well, maybe you're right.
No, but
maybe Lawler and Richards was worse, because it looked like Richards was like on a different planet for some of it.
Yeah,
like poor Lawler standing there waiting for him to come at him and everything like that.
But I thought Lawler was really good.
Yeah, it was just... That kind of reminds me of Saturday. But anyway, I thought they were just... The one thing about that match was they were just pummeling each other. I mean, with those slaps and with the... Trish Stratus at one point was just pounding her in the corner and just kicked her right in the head. And I thought, these girls are really trying to have a hell of a match here. And they did, for what it was.
I mean, they must have practiced it. But, I mean, to me, the idea... I was stunned that they were going to go more than 3 minutes. And then, and I know that there were a lot of people when they heard how long they were going to go. Boy. I mean, with the idea that, it's not just going to be roll around for 30 seconds and a couple of quick spots. They were actually going to go and try to do a match. With the amount of experience Stephanie McMahon has. And I mean, Stephanie McMahon has never looked good in the ring, ever. And Trish, certainly doesn't have the experience to lead a match, but she did a hell of a job. Because she took, almost all the bumps.
Yeah. It was like 7 minutes or something.
8.5 minutes.
8.5.
And it was it was a pretty decent match.
Yeah.
It was better than most women's matches that we see in the United States.
I would say almost all.
I mean, as far as, the vast majority. I'm sure it blew away everything on that WoW pay-per-view, and those women actually do more wrestling than Stephanie.
And, of course, they had Steve Regal out there to make the match even better. He was so awesome.
Yeah, isn't he, though? I know.
Putting Stephanie on top, and then, oh, my God, what the hell should I do? Put the foot on the rope. That was so great.
I want to make a real quick mention that Booker T will be on WCW tonight, returning. At least that was the plan as of yesterday. WCW, let's see. WCW, that's Sale to Fusions. Ran into some major snags last week while I was in Atlantic City, out of touch. But I think everything is okay now. There were some problems as far as, the books just don't look too good. And it almost fell through. Also, Mandalay Sports is backing a venture out of Calgary. It's going to be called MattRats.com. That's the idea of a television show website. The idea is that they would have teenage wrestlers, the big stars being Teddy Hart and Harry Smith, and they would fill the audience with planted teenage girls who would go crazy over the guys and, combine music and wrestling and, try to appeal to that teenage age group and syndicate the show nationally. So that's the idea behind it.
We actually had 2 guys who were working for us that ran off to Calgary to become part of Matt Rats.
Oh, really?
And, haven't seen them since I heard from them. So
they taped 2 pilots. I know that.
Yeah.
I heard that, the idea is to be based around doing outrageous high spots. The kids doing great high spots. So I have not seen a tape of it, but probably we'll hear. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about it, being that it's in Calgary. It's not exactly the wrestling capital of the world, but for some reason, I kind of hear what happens in Calgary pretty quick.
Tell us about your judging, by the way.
Do you want to hear the judging story?
You were going to start that story, and we never got into it.
Okay. When we last left you on Friday, I had completed all those arduous tasks, including I don't even want to go into the long version of the story. I told Bryan that before the show on Friday. But anyway, there was all these things I had to do, including getting an EKG, eye test, things like that. The eye test wasn't a blood test. I got the blood test here in San Jose, which was a story in and of itself, but I got it done. So anyway, Friday, right before the show.
Did you have to do a weigh-in as well?
Yes, I did do a weigh-in as well.
Really?
Fact. And blood pressure, yes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Did they have a weight limit for the judges?
No, I think that the weight wouldn't have mattered.
Okay.
So anyway, then I, at about 3:30 their time, which is an hour and a half before the show, the blood test form comes in, and that was a comedy of errors too, because I told the hospital, to fax me the results of the blood test, to the UFC office, and we never get it. So then later, this is later in the afternoon, I called up again. I go, look, we're on deadline. Please fax me this blood test, and they go, this is Kaiser in San Jose, and they go, we faxed you this so many times, and we're not going to do it again. So it was like,
that's nice.
Great. So anyway, at roughly the same time, my girlfriend calls up and goes, I made them fax it to me. So they faxed, because they tried to fax it to the UFC office, and for some reason the UFC office, their fax machine wasn't working, but they didn't know it. That was like my fault because they weren't getting the fax. So anyway, my girlfriend has got a copy of this blood test. So she tries to fax it to the UFC office, and again it doesn't work, but she's smart enough to know that she faxes it to the hotel instead of the UFC office. So anyway, they go down, and there's like 5 copies of the fax between the Kaiser and 2 that my girlfriend sent at the hotel lobby, to be sent to the UFC offices, which nobody had brought to the UFC offices. So now they got 5 copies of my blood test. However, so anyway, then I go and do the show, figuring everything's cool. Right after the show, I go to the arena, and the first thing I do is this guy named Skip Hall, who was scheduled to be one of the judges, comes up to me and just goes, I'm not going to be able to judge. He was telling me about, he was mad, and he's just swearing, and he's really upset, and he just goes, the commission, they said that even though my medical tests were all in, because they couldn't confirm that was the signature of the doctor that signed the form, that they would not let him judge. And I go, you know what? I'll bet you that they're never going to be able to find my doctor either, and I'm not going to be able to judge. I was saying that as a joke. So, I don't hear anything. A few minutes later, someone from UFC kind of walks by me and just kind of goes, you're not judging tonight. And I go, why not? And he goes, medical reasons. And I go, I'm fine. And then he just walked away.
Good.
So I just figured it was the same story as the other guy. And my goal was, because Skip Hall was so mad, and just, I was going to be like adult about it. I went all the way to New Jersey, didn't get, not getting a judge, but what the hell, I'm seeing the show. We got to do 2 Goody Yada shows from there. I'm not, it's not the end of the world. So I was like, I'm not going to get mad. I'm going to be, just going to watch the show and have fun. So a few minutes later, someone else from UFC comes up to me and just goes,
we're sold out.
What?
You don't have a seat.
No. they go, what the hell happened? And I go, I don't know, you tell me. And he goes, we heard you were in trouble. You forged a doctor's signature. You failed your eye test. They start telling me this stuff. Now I'm all of a sudden going like, oh, what's going on? I mean, I actually thought when he said it that he was just kidding me. At first, since someone else who's not with UFC but affiliated was sitting with me and goes, you better do something. And I go, why? And he goes, because what everyone's saying about you, you better clear your name. So then all of a sudden I go, oh my God. So I go to the woman at the athletic commission and I go, what's going on? And she just goes, what is she? She basically says that, first she says that the doctor said it wasn't his signature on the form. Then she said that when we called up, I think I'm going to bury myself, but this is the truth. Anyway, that when they called up to confirm the signature, that the number that I gave them for the hospital was the number of a fax machine and not of the hospital. Well, I knew that that's wrong. And then they go, well, actually, we couldn't confirm the signature because we couldn't get an answer, which that one I believed, okay? So pretty much the show goes on. A couple people make some comments to me at the show. A couple people give me dirty looks at the show. So anyway, at the end of the show, someone from the commission comes up to me and just goes, we're really sorry about what happened. It was this technicality. We know it wasn't your fault, and just clear everything up this week, and you can judge. We'll assign you to judge the next show. So I thought, okay, everything's cool, and that's fine. So I didn't really think about it again. I thought they were actually being pretty cool about it. So I come home to see the fax that was sent from my house, and there was actually no signature on it in the first place. I mean, it's just a computer printout. So all of these people how could there be a forged signature when there was no signature to begin with? So I think the whole problem is that because there was no signature on the blood test, they wouldn't let me judge. So that's the long version of that story that I never want to talk about again. XFL is not doing very well.
No, it's not. I'm still thinking about that signature.
Yeah, I was thinking about and then the other thing, they said that my eyes didn't dilate properly, and the problem with that was I never had my eyes dilated to do it properly or not, because when Dr. Richard Istroco, who gave me my medical exam, goes, have you had your eyes dilated? And I said no, and he goes, well, we may have to do it. Let me check. He checks, and he goes, we don't have to do it. So anyway, that's another story. Anyway, let me get back to the XFL. I got a call from a sports writer in Chicago who's doing the story, who told me that when the overnight rating for the game on Saturday night was a 2.8. And so the final number when it comes in tomorrow will probably be in the range of a 2.4 on NBC. And apparently they are checking records because it is believed to be the lowest rating in the history of any of the four major networks in the history of television for prime time, which is really scary. It was definitely the lowest rating. Last week's rating was the lowest rated. Oh, God, what was it?
Maybe WWF can release a press release saying they've set a new network record. Just not say what the number was.
Yeah. I think that last week's rating, which was the 3.1, and this one's going to come well below that, I believe that was the lowest rating in the history of the NBC network for prime time. So when you read these quotes, well, we're really not doing that bad, and they couldn't be doing worse. The UPN stations.
Did you get TNN yet?
What, TNN rating I won't get until tomorrow.
Okay.
But that's probably going to end up being an 07 or something, 08. The UPN rating the UPN overnight was a 1.8, so that's down 10% from last week, so that means it'll probably wind up about a 1.4. So as far as making these numbers add up to 11, let's not even try. And I don't want to hear anyone trying to justify that these ratings aren't that bad, because they're worse. They're worse than anyone could ever imagine. These are horrible numbers. Anyway, I've read some of these quotes going, well, it's, we really didn't expect much, and it's only the third week, and it's, the numbers are dropping everywhere.
And Vince said it'd be 3 years before they made a profit. That's my favorite.
It ain't going to be 3 years. It's
300 years.
They're not going to be here in 3 years. NBC, the NBC stations on the West Coast, they want this thing gone. I think that the plan is if the ratings don't go up to about a 4 to a 4.5 within 3 weeks, and at this trend, and they're going to be closer to a -4, that the NBC stations are going to move the shows to a 3-hour tape delay to air them from 8 to 11 in prime time, so they can save their 6 o'clock newscasts being at their regular time, because that's a lucrative thing for the station. I know the station in Seattle and Portland, the NBC affiliate of both, pretty much told them, you got 3 weeks, and no matter what the network says, we're doing it. The UPN affiliates are actually, what's the word I'm looking for? They're actually more up in arms, because they want UPN to announce as quick as possible that they are not renewing for a second season, so they can go and get programming to fill that time slot for next season.
Yeah. Do you think that a taped game, how do you think that would affect it? Do you think that people, if you're a big enough football fan, actually watch the XFL, and you read that the game was bad, you just wouldn't watch it?
I think it would hurt the ratings slightly. I don't think it'd be a big difference. How much more can you hurt? How much lower can a network rating go? I remember someone.
I think we asked that after the second week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. This would have been a conversation I had with someone from NBC. Okay, a couple of days ago, and this was when I did a 3-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said that their feeling was you could run a test pattern in prime time and draw a 3-0. Okay, which obviously now I think that's being reevaluated. So I think the test pattern rating is about a 2-4. And anyway, that's just doing really bad. And that game on Saturday, they were in this pouring rainstorm in Chicago, which is certainly not their fault. But to make that field, how the announcers have to be sitting there with the fans.
Yeah.
So you had Jim Ross and Jesse Ventura. It's like 20 degrees or whatever it was in Chicago. It's pouring rain. And they're just sitting there, just getting pelted with rain. And so Jesse can't bring notes. So Jesse has, no clue what's going on in this game without his notes, right? Ross is, I guess, doing the best he can, doing it. And then they're trying to do this angle with Jesse Ventura and Rusty Tillman, who's the coach of the New York team. And it just got so, it was so Bush League, the way that whole thing went down. Anyway, I know that I don't want to belabor that, stuff. One other thing is, the planned, all the plans as far as WCW, every week we talk about the plans. Eric Bischoff was on the show talking about the plans. Just suffice to say that all the plans, as of this moment, are out the window. There is no plan. There is an idea for a plan, but it could change, and I don't even want to bring it up. But the plan from, the plan that we had talked about, where at the next pay-per-view they were going to bring everybody back, and then set up the big pay-per-view in May. Well, obviously that's going to be changed to some degree because Booker T's coming back. And as far as with the other guys, I think that's probably all going to change as well. I don't know what the new, whatever it is. They're going to be running every Monday night in April. And as far as that goes, that's about as far as anything knows. There will be no shutdown in April. That's for sure. Because they booked, actually they haven't completely booked, but they're trying to book nitros for every Monday in April. May 6th in Vegas. And,
God, just 1 week ago I was writing about how great it was for them to finally have a long-term plan and an idea, and now it's
they've had 4 of
back
those
to square one.
They've had 4 of those in the last 4 weeks because of all the just various problems from different situations. Any other news to hit before I start hitting emails?
No.
Okay, let's go. This is there's no question the XFL is collapsing week after week in the ratings by now. Who knows where the eventual dropping point will be? Will it hit a 1 rating? No, I can't go that low, but I shouldn't say that. Because
you should not say that.
I know. Nothing will surprise me. On XFL.com, they have an XFL survey with over 20 questions for the fans to fill out. It's interesting. They should fill out, how come you no longer watch? What are we missing? Why did you watch in the first place and choose never to come back? The ratings are obviously pathetic, but is the XFL making money? Okay, the answer to that question is a resounding no. Because the XFL's supposed goal is for the teams to average 20,000 tickets sold per game. I want to make a couple of notes about these tickets. What attendances that are being announced at these games, is the number of tickets that are out. That is a combination of tickets sold and tickets comped. That does not even mean the number in the building. Just in the Chicago game, they announced an attendance of 24,000 people at that Chicago game, but there were really only somewhere between 12 and 14,000 people in the building, and there were a lot of comps out. In Los Angeles, they announced 18,000, and they would not even announce, this was for yesterday's game, they would not even announce how many were in the building. Someone told me that it could have been as low as 7,000, and there's a lot of comps in Los Angeles and Chicago have had a lot of comps. I don't think San Francisco has had any comps at all, and they drew 34,000. San Francisco is doing very, very well. Anyway.
Has the media gone after the attendance yet?
In every story they say announced crowd. But
they really haven't because I think the XFL was pretty much screwed either way because, even if the rating was still like a 10 right now, they'd be going after the attendance. 7,000 people, my God.
Well, they haven't really done that. The only thing that I saw...
That's because they have the rating to go after.
Well, in the local paper today, they just said that they announced 18,000 tickets for the LA game, but then they said but they refused to announce how many were actually in the building because traditionally you do both numbers, and they didn't do that. They're supposed to average 20,000 tickets sold per game. I think they're on a pace to average well over that figure for the Brainstorm games. They had 18,000 at each of those games. Again, I don't know. The Memphis game they announced 18,000. Put it this way, those numbers be very skeptical of those numbers. Other than those are real numbers of tickets out, but that doesn't mean that those tickets are all paid, and doesn't mean that those number of people came to the buildings, because in most cases the number in the stadium is actually far less than the number that's announced. The Demons Outlaw game had 34,000, which in fact is a real number. At $25, the gate should be pretty good for those games. At $25, 35,000 fans at $750,000 gate for tickets alone. I wonder if everyone knew what the merchandising figures are doing, whether or not they're making money. Okay, based on the idea that they would sell 20,000 tickets per game and average an 11.0 rating, okay, they were on line to lose $50 million this year, which would be $25 million for WWF, or I think $60 million. $30 million for WWF and $30 million for NBC. So since those TV numbers are nowhere close, and the attendance is going to end up being below that number, or close to that number. I mean, it's just, even if the attendance stays at that number, the fact is it's mainly the TV revenue was the key revenue source, and they're going to do less than half of projection. So the losses, if the losses were projected at 60, they're probably going to be closer to 80. So no, they're not making money is the short version of that answer. Let's see. This is from Lamont Cranston, and this is pretty good. This is the top 10 ideas for resurrecting WCW here. Number 1, dress Kevin Nash up as Doink and the entire Cruiserweight division up as Little Dinks. Number 2, Ric Flair versus Bruno Sammartino feud. The winner's son, David, gets a push. Number 3, bring back Kevin Sullivan to have an affair with Kimberly Page. Tell Dallas to make it a shoot. 4, Dwayne Gill versus Bill Goldberg. Winner keeps the gimmick. 5, replace Dean Malenko with the Ultimate Warrior with the gimmick of the Man of 1,000 Holes. 6, Randy Savage versus Ric Flair. The loser gets to keep Liz. The loser keeps Liz. I could have done better than that one. 7, have Sarge come in and do squats and push-ups until he pukes, then make him start cutting promos.
Now that would be a gimmick.
That's a good one. Number 8, bring in Fabulous Moolah to wrestle Lance Storm to give Storm the rub. Number 9, this is the one that I like. Sign John Cena and Big Show from the WWF. Have Show Cena steal Cena's food while he's busy in the ring wrestling. Number 10, dress up in Amazon as China and have Killer Kowalski do a run-in and rip her ear off and then run away. Okay.
He'd always just get a new ear.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see about this. Vince McMahon and Trish Stratus versus William Regal and Stephanie McMahon. Yeah, I know about that match. Let's see. There is a link to Wrestling Observer Live on www. Steelcage.com. Okay. It says, don't get me wrong. I know Helmsley was awesome last night, but you got to give it for Austin putting on that kind of performance after everything he's gone through physically at the age of 36. Yeah, absolutely. It takes 2 to have a match like that.
Mm-hmm.
Austin did a great job. Let me see. Did you catch Steve Austin get blasted in the head by a beer can thrown by a fan shortly after they raised the cage after the 3rd fall? Helmsley was still on top of him, and needless to say, Austin stopped selling the knockout after getting hit with the beer can. I didn't notice that. Did you notice that?
I didn't either.
Wow.
I saw he kind of shoved him off because he couldn't breathe. Here's a 250-pound man who's feeling it like he's dead, lying on your chest after a match like that. I'd have pushed him off immediately.
I didn't like that stunner, by the way, after the match.
Oh, I know, that was dumb. Why do it?
I know why they did it, just because I thought it was going to get a big pop, and it didn't. But it's like after 40 minutes, to me, when the match is over, that kind of a match, they should just both collapse and be dragged out of the building.
They did. I thought it was awesome how after the match, they just laid there. And they raised the cage up, and these two guys just laid there like they had absolutely nothing left in their bodies. And I thought, this is making this match even better, this post-match right here. And the next thing you know, here's Austin giving a stun, and I thought, well, so much for that.
Yeah.
At least he collapsed afterwards and didn't go drink beer.
Why does someone have to take a blood test and be away and to be a judge for the UFC? It's not UFC rules, it's New Jersey State Athletic Commission rules. They never made me do it before. It's from Frank Jewett. When Vince McMahon announced plans to start a football league, there was a lot of snickering from the mainstream press. Wrestling journalists and fans quickly jumped to Vince's defense, claiming he was being unfairly criticized because of his connection to pro wrestling. He was, to an extent, okay? Setting aside the pyro cheerleader promos and other pro wrestling trappings, including Jim Ross popping for an 8-yard run, the XFL still works like a pro wrestling company. The XFL claimed an attendance of 24,000 in Chicago, but the AP reported less than 15,000 people were there. The XFL claimed 18,000 in Los Angeles. The LA Times estimated there were less than 8,000 in the building. We just talked about that. Overstating attendance certainly is a new concept in pro sports, but by choosing this path, McMahon has proven his critics right. He's reverted from meaty impresario to carnival huckster. And then you go, at least Vince didn't invent a terrorist scare at the Coliseum this time. You know, the
season's not over yet.
That's right. The thing is like I said, the number that they announce for attendance, I told you what it is, so they're not lying, but they are misleading. So anyway, they announced the total number of tickets out. That doesn't mean, okay. Anyway, see, this is WCW, Dustin Rhodes, Jeff Jarrett with Ric Flair as referee, Shane Helms against Shannon Moore, brackets for the Cruiserweight tournament. I hope they get one. Okay, it's for ECW Super 8. I went to the Super 8 Saturday night, which Low-Key won that, right? Yeah, I think so. All I can say is, wow, the work rate was superb. Guys like Tony Kozina, Mike Sullivan, Billy Fives, and Jason Rain were all pretty good. Now, I had heard some of those guys were not that good. Mike Sullivan is, but anyway. Rain's finisher, the Raindrop, is amazing. Spanky, Reckless Youth, American Dragon, and Low-Key were excellent. I heard American Dragon was the star of the show. Too bad this event couldn't be shown to more people. The American Dragon, Reckless Youth, Low-Key against Billy Fives, American Dragon versus Spanky, Low-Key versus Jason Rain were all amazing matches. Low-Key does a sadistic corkscrew flip from outside from the top turnbuckle. American Dragon used a dragon suplex, which he floats into a full Nelson-like hold and bridges for a submission. It's amazing. Okay. I read the following on several websites. Well, it started in the Torch, so we'll at least give credit to the person who started this one. So where it started. Some wrestlers believe Steve Austin was working behind the scenes to prevent mid-card wrestlers from moving into the main event mix. Wrestlers say Austin believe he can make more money working with wrestlers who have already been established as main event wrestlers as opposed to helping elevate mid-carders. Some also believe Austin thinks he is more likely to lose a spot to a younger wrestler than he is to one of the current main eventers. Other mid-card wrestlers believe Austin and Triple H working together to have Kurt Angle demoted to mid-card.
Oh, come on now.
In recent weeks, Triple H made known that he feels Angle's title reign lasted too long. There is stuff going on there. I know that some of the mid-carders believe that their biggest allies among the top guys are Austin and Undertaker. I think there is definite leeriness of Triple H, more now than ever before, by the obvious people, for the obvious reasons, especially since Chris Jericho got yelled at for cutting a promo on X-Pac that everyone thought was something that he shouldn't have been yelled at for. So there's stuff going on there.
Where'd he cut this promo?
God, it was on, I think it was the week that X-Pac finally showed up. It was about 2 or 3 weeks ago on Raw. I think it was on Raw. I don't remember if it was Raw or SmackDown, but I think it was Raw.
What did he say? Oh, the same look, same everything? Yeah,
that one.
Well, it's true.
I know. Well, that's probably why. If it wasn't true, I think that everyone would have a sense of humor about it. This is from Neil. Whatever happened to Lord Al Hayes? Lord Al Hayes was at the Cauliflower Alley, and his knees are doing very, very poorly. In fact, he needs a wheelchair and a cane to get around, unfortunately. So that's what happened to Lord Al Hayes. Let's see. I agree the last 2 shows were great with bad news, and especially the brain. Let's see. What else? What are the chances of getting the following wrestling personalities on the show soon? Jim Mitchell, we just had him on. Could get him on again. Dave McClain, we asked for, didn't get before that pay-per-view. Raven, I'm sure would do the show, except for a company that does not allow him to do the show. And Jim Cornette will be on the show. What day, Al? Next Monday? Cornette.
Next Monday will be Jim Cornette.
Good. We could talk about a lot of those guys in Ohio Valley and what's been going on there. I thought you might find this interesting. On Bad News Show, Bad News mentioned, that's right, that he did not know Sakuraba, but on December 5th, 1993, in front of 46,000 people. I was supposed to be at that show, but I had appendicitis and didn't make it. Bad News Allen beat Sakuraba. That was the undercard of the first Takada Vader match. That's right, that was Sakuraba 7 years ago. Let's see, with The Rock being so young and being the 6-time champion, do you think it's fair to say he will come closer past Ric Flair's championship record by the end of his career, or is the Ric Flair thing an accomplishment nobody will ever do again? He'll do it, unless he gets hurt.
It's so much less of an accomplishment today, though. I mean, just look at Hunter. 5 reigns, or what is it, 4 reigns already? In less than 2 years?
Yeah, a year and a half.
Yeah.
August of 99, right? Wasn't that when he first won it?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's Rock's broke the record held by Bret Hart and Hogan with the 6th reign that he won last night. And I mean, to me, it was not.
I thought they would mention that one for sure.
Maybe they will today, but
Rock just outdid both Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, maybe they don't want to mention Bret Hart. And then again, let's see. Let's go to the phones. We'll go to Matt from WrestlingPlanet.com. Matt, what's going on?
Hello?
Hello?
Hey.
Hello.
What's up?
What's going on?
Matt Boone from WrestlingPlanet.com.
Yes.
The site that's carrying your show.
Yes.
I just wanted to correct that because you said WrestlePlanet earlier. I just wanted to know what's going on. What do you think about Triple H? And since he beat Austin, do you think he's going to come play and try to get to the main event of WrestleMania?
Well, he was going to whether he won or lost, but yeah, I think he's going to try to get into the
Yeah, of course he's going to complain. I'm just saying, I figured he'd use that,
Well, he's going to use
to
the
ask
live.
like, why is Austin in the main event if I'm the one who just won? And
I think that will be an angle both behind the scenes. I think that he'll say it on television in an interview tonight as well. I think it'll be an interview for an angle for television and an angle to get himself in the match for real. I think it's a dual thing. Anything else?
No, that's about it.
Okay, good enough.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And let's see. Who do you think are the top 3 wrestlers in the WWF? As far as in the ring, Benoit, Helmsley, and Angle. Would you say that, Bryan? Or Eddie Guerrero's you could say Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie last night was way up there. He was awesome.
Yeah.
Him and Benoit together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think they're doing a program with those two to get Benoit babyface.
That was awesome.
I think that's what they're going to start doing.
Hey, how many times? I can't even remember. Did they done Rock Austin twice at WrestleMania or just once?
Rock, Austin, I think just once.
Yeah, just once, that's right.
WrestleMania would be 99?
Yeah. I'm just looking back, like the WWF, they don't really like to do the same main event for WrestleMania more than once. I mean, that's why I kind of think that Hunter's going to get in there. You know what I mean?
He may. It's been 2 years, but they held off doing the Rock Austin single match for so long, they might as well do it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Whatever happened to Sting's career? He used to be the franchise, and he hasn't been used correctly. I think what happened to Sting is that... Sting. He didn't perform when he was given the greatest build-up in the world, and he was probably the most popular wrestler in the entire business at one point. Was it 3 years ago or so? And then he came down from the ceiling, and he wrestled Hogan, and Hogan is the smartest man in wrestling. Or was at that time. I think Hunter's got him now. Because Hogan's sitting on the sidelines, and Hunter's having 4 3/4 star matches.
You know why else I think that Hunter and Nash both are smarter than Hogan right now? It's because no matter what they do, guys, for the most part, still love them.
I know guys who see through both of them. They just don't say it publicly. I mean, I'm both. I hear the same stuff from almost everyone I talk to, but nobody's going to say it on the air because they know that it's not in your best interest to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to make those enemies. But how many guys have we had on this show that when that name Hogan comes up, and all of a sudden they say, just what a great guy he is and blah, blah, blah. And like 80% of them, you know what I mean? I mean, I know. Yeah. 60% of them I know for sure. The other 20% I'm not sure. You know what I mean? So it's, you politically, I mean, what? How many people have been on the show and just gone, said the things about Vince that like you and I say? I think the only one's bad news Allen because he knows he's never going back.
Mm-hmm.
And Bret Hart. But that's because he's not going back either anytime soon. In his mind ever. Let's see. What was the Big Show doing running in? Yeah, I just think, just trying to set something up. Let's go to JD in Pittsburgh. What's going on?
Hey, Dave. Hey, Brian. How you guys doing?
Hey.
I just got to try out Figure 4 Weekly, and I have to say it's a pretty good thing that I got it. I really enjoyed it. My question is, as far as 3 ECW guys, there was talk they might be debuting tonight at Raw in Phoenix. I was wondering if you guys heard any about them. Lynn, Rhino, Tajiri, and if so, what do you guys think?
Rhino may debut tonight. I mean, Rhino's going to be there, and he'll at least work a dark match. He may appear on Raw. Tajiri is not there, and who's the third guy you were asking about?
Jerry Lynn.
Jerry Lynn's not there either.
Yeah.
And there were no plans. There were no plans for Tajiri's contract has not been fully executed, although it has been signed. Mm-hmm. Whatever that means, I don't know. Lynn, everything's taken care of. It's just this week he's just not there. Now they may. Who's that? I think they may do Steve Bradley tomorrow night at SmackDown or tonight. That's a possibility as well. But of those 3, only Rhino would be a possibility,
mm-hmm.
and I think it's a.
Yeah.
At one point the plan. I don't know what the plan is, but at one point the plan was for Rhino to debut on TV either tonight or tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys see him as far as the angle goes? I mean, I'm just reading on WrestleLine this week. There's a lot of talk. Rhino might join Right to Censor. Jerry Lynn might do a Mr. Minnesota gimmick. Jerry might do a join kind type, knocking necessarily talking.
Oh, great.
I don't think they have plans for anybody actually.
Yeah.
Maybe Rhino, obviously, if he's going to debut tonight, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a lot of, as far as the WWF goes, I mentioned this to a couple of guys also, the way the WWF has their talent now, getting the ECW guys, of course, Bjork and Matthews, the addition now as well, they're going to have to let off guys like, say, S.A. Rios and D'Lo Brown, all those guys go pretty much. The way D'Lo's been pushing.
Okay. They don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
The company, even with his XFL losses, the company still made, $11 million last quarter. So it's not like these contracts are bleeding them dry. They don't have to do anything. Now, they may choose to because there are just so many guys that you can put to work, and there's no point in having guys you can't. And those guys you mentioned, are certainly on the bubble. They don't get a push. So
yeah, especially D'Lo.
It's certainly a possibility. I would think, one of the things that they're doing, whether they say it or not, is they're trying to stockpile talent so WCW doesn't have young guys turning around. And, S.A. Rios is a hell of a worker.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they would want WWE to get him. And D'Lo Brown can be a good worker.
Yeah,
I don't know if they want WCW to get him either.
Well, D'Lo was talking to WCW at one point, and then, after that happened, his push went way down.
Yes, it did.
Speaking of WCW, now that we're going to mention them, as far as the Steiner Brothers go, Rick and Scott, we've seen them totally out of control. Do you think right now it's pretty much a definite that both of them are way, way out of control in their matches? Look what Rick did this week. What Rick did last week, that was insane.
Rick is not out of control, but he is dangerous because he's been
so Scotty.
No, Scott's.
Yeah, I don't see Scott just. It's almost like you see Rick in there, and he'll get a guy that he really doesn't have a lot of respect for.
Yeah.
And he'll just, it's not like he's going to really try and hurt him or he's shooting on him, but he's just beating.
But he does hurt him.
Yeah, he did that to Lash LaRue last week.
Yeah.
Case in point. And then Scotty, he's taken out his more than his fair share. I'm surprised.
Scott hasn't been, to me, the only stuff Scott's been out of control was a couple times when he does those interviews and he says things without, that he, when he goes against the script on interviews. Yeah,
well, he deliberately tried to insert, from what I saw, Modest and Daniels in that match.
No. That was 100% angle. He didn't try to hurt them at all.
Okay.
No.
Because I thought a lot of people said that happened for real because it looked like their legs just snapped.
No, that was 100%.
Okay. No. But yeah, Scotty, there's no doubt about it. Sometimes in his interviews, I'll agree with you there, Dave, he is out of control. And you said Booker's come back tonight? Possible?
That was, I believe so, yes.
Well, they better get some ratings because they need help bad.
Last week's ratings were not a good sign. What WWF.com has to say about Raw tonight. There's going to be interviews with Stone Cold and The Rock, and Kurt Angle, and Triple H.
And one match.
Yeah, right, for 90 minutes. We got the tag team match, Vince McMahon and Trish against Steve Regal and Stephanie. Chris Jericho defends the Intercontinental title against Raven. Dudley's tag team title against Haku and Rikishi. Lita against Molly Holly. Winner becomes the number one contender for Ivory. I could see Lita beating Ivory at WrestleMania for the women's title. That's sort of a WrestleMania type thing that they would do.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero against X-Pac and Just Incredible. Okay, now there is going to be a swerve in either that match or the McMahon match. I'm trying to figure out what swerve do you think they're going to do in the McMahon match? Everyone's turned on someone.
I think if they turn anybody, they'll turn maybe Trish babyface. I just kind of had that impression last night because she kind of got screwed, and then she was totally pissed off after the match, and there's just something about it I was looking at going, she's kind of a babyface here.
There was a lot of people in the WWF that were surprised last night that Triple H didn't get booed more. And actually, I know why, because he never backs down.
Of course, he's a babyface.
I know.
He's a badass babyface, just hates people.
Which is exactly how Steve Austin got over.
Yeah.
Rock.
Yep.
Anyway, the most exciting fight I think Pride could do is Gilbert Ivell against Pele. So that's the size thing, okay? Gilbert Ivell is about 230-pound guy, and Pele is about 170-pound guy. So it would not be a good fight. In fact, it'd be an ugly fight.
Brutal.
Although style-wise, I've seen Pele, who's not the famous soccer player, but he's a Brazilian fighter. Pele, I've seen him in tremendous fights.
That'd be a hell of a fight, too, the soccer player Pele.
Against who?
I don't know. Silva.
You got yourself in a corner on that one. You didn't get out of it. No, just...
Scott Steiner.
That would really be ugly, too.
Hey, I got one more comment about Scott Steiner, kind of from our last call there. Scott Steiner, I never look at him going into the ring and think that he's going to go in there to actually hurt somebody. But the one thing is, he's so crazy strong, and he's so used to throwing these guys like Hugh Morris with his suplexes, that when he got in there with those 4 cruiserweights, and he was throwing those guys around, I was scared for him. Especially Yang, when he just tossed him off the top rope. Like, these guys are under 200 pounds, and this is a guy that's used to throwing guys that are over 300, and it was scary.
You know, want to see someone who's scary like that is Brock Lesnar in Ohio Valley, because Brock Lesnar, you know, who's just a couple of months out of the NCAAs, is used to throwing around 260-pound guys who don't want to be thrown.
For real.
Okay, so when he's in there with 200-pound guys that want to be thrown, they go into orbit. And I mean,
are they doing like full flips off a German?
Double arm suplex, and some guys spun it all the way over. It's the craziest thing. It was like the first move I think I ever saw Brock Lesnar do, and it was like, wow, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He's still got a ways to go, but boy, he's. You look at him, and you know he may not be able to punch, and he might not be able to do good in a fight, but if I ever wanted to intimidate someone, I'd bring him. Oh my God, what a huge, powerful looking guy. Let's see. Wondering if there's any more developments with Tanaka, Gedo, and Jado. Nothing new other than they're out of FMW over financial reasons. Who stands to lose the most?
So that is real?
Yeah, that's not as far as I know, that's not an angle.
Okay.
Everyone's doing it in the Naj Khan thing. I was told that's not an angle too. It's like, this is happening with too much frequency. And I'm skeptical of everything over there because it's over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I believe that's not an angle. Let's see. Who stands to lose? Actually, I don't even want to say I believe anything because FMW, you can't believe anything. They never follow through.
The thing with New Japan, though, is they can get rid of some of these guys, do the interpromotional feud later, and make some money. But for like a smaller company, I mean, say it was like ECW getting rid of half their guys so they could do an interpromotional angle later. They couldn't do that.
No, yeah, because they need to make money all the time. Right, for New Japan, I mean, this whole thing, it's like, you know, a lot of people are mentioning, you know, New Japan's business is down, and it is. And in some cases, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to paint a rosy picture of New Japan, but at the same time, they are setting up, you know, matches for 6 months and a year from now, and sacrificing, you know, like having guys on the card right now. I mean, there's a long-term business plan in what they're doing, as opposed to like a smaller group that could not afford for business to be down almost on purpose, if you know what I'm saying. Because look at this tour they got coming up. I mean, they have no Chono, obviously no Hashimoto, no Takaiwa, no Otani. I mean, you know, so. You know, I mean, they know it's not going to be a good tour, but again, it's, you know, there's reasons they're doing all of those, you know, guys to give them a rest and to shoot angles. Who stands to lose the most in the XFL, and do you think they will finish the season? I think they will finish the season. Who loses the most? Who do you think loses the most, NBC or Vince?
Vince.
Money-wise, they're going to lose the exact same amount, but
because NBC is just going to, you know, they'll put a new show in there and they'll recoup and they'll forget all about it, but Vince will be affected forever.
Yeah, because it'll be the story. It'll be the big story of Vince.
Yep.
Because he made it the big story. You know, I mean, one of the things that people have been mentioning lately is that one of the reasons, because I'm going like, you know, the press has been so hard on him and all that, and I've talked to some press people, and they go, the reason is because Vince shot his mouth off like he did and made himself a story before the league started, and you got to follow up.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's see. There's another one. After reading the financial figures for the XFL, I was wondering how this will directly affect the WWF, whether it be payroll or stock price. Well, I don't even want to think about stock price, but it shouldn't help it, that's for sure. These ratings should be hurting the stock. How long will Vince stick with the XFL? I mean, I really don't think he's going to do it next year. I really don't. He says he will, but I don't think he will. And how much would it cost to shut it down? It costs, you know, less to shut it down than to keep it going.
Yeah.
Let's see. Did Bobby Heenan have a brother who was a pro wrestler? No, he did not. There was a wrestler who wrestled under the name Jerry Heenan, whose real name was Jerry Hill. They were not real brothers, who later became more famous under the name Guy the Stomper Mitchell and Gentleman Jerry Valiant as well. A couple of people sent emails noting that about Austin and the beer can. It was from Doug Creamer, several of these. Watch the tape. The end of the match, Austin gets hit square in the head by a beer can. Helmsley moved off him in a hurry. We rewound the tape and watched it again. He got nailed. So, he got nailed. Let's go to Aziz. Aziz, what's going on?
Hey. I just want to ask, do you have any updates on the Shawn Michaels WrestleMania situation?
He's going to be on the card, but he's not going to wrestle on the card, and I don't know what they're going to do with him on the card. But he should be on TV. God, I would say within 2-3 weeks, starting to build it up, I would think.
Well, was he backstage at No Way Out last night?
No, he was not. He was not there last night.
He wasn't?
And he was not planned to be for a TV tonight. You know, I mean, he doesn't live that far. I mean, if they decided, like, right now, if they all of a sudden they want him, he could actually get there on time. But I'm pretty sure he won't be at TV tonight or tomorrow.
Was Tori backstage at No Way Out last night?
Tori, as in Terry Polk? Tori as in Tori Wilson?
Tori from...
Former DX Tori?
Yeah, DX Tori.
She's Ninja Girl.
She is?
Yeah. She was definitely backstage. She did a run-in in the, Hardcore Battle Royal.
Do you know when they'll reveal her as Ninja Girl?
No.
I think they'll do it tonight. I thought they were going to do it last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, can I make a shout-out?
Sure.
Shout-out to Fred Cook, and I want everyone to visit iowrestling.com.
Okay. All right. We can't be doing this any longer, by the way.
What was that?
Everyone plugging websites. It's just
yes, you must link to our show, or we will not give you a plug from this point forward.
Okay. We're going to no more shout-outs to get for plugs. Let's go to Western Virginia.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey.
It's going really good, Wes.
I want to ask you, how difficult do you think it's going to be getting over Benoit as a face? I've just always had the image of him being a heel, and just the way he kind of carries himself and, the way he conducts his promos. He seems like he's always been more of a heel. I think it's going to be a little bit difficult getting him over as a face. What do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, when he was in WCW, I mean, he just had to do, he was a baby face. It was pretty easy.
He did pretty well as a baby face.
He's a hard worker, good matches. People want to cheer him.
Knows how to sell and make comebacks. I mean, the one weakness of him as a babyface is the promos, for sure. But that's I don't know.
Also, I saw on OneWrestling.com they said that in Mike Mooneyham's column, somebody Eric Bischoff sent Arn Anderson home. Something to do with like Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger. He was involved in some match or a promo, and they went against the script, and he got blamed for it. Have you heard anything about that?
I heard he was sent home. And I made a few calls last night, but because of the pay-per-view, I couldn't. I just don't know why he was sent home. But yeah, I did hear that he was sent home. Yeah. I'm sure that was probably the reason. But I just haven't heard anything further.
Also, any talk about Terry Taylor getting diminished in booking power? I've heard in a couple of places, but I don't put a lot of credence. But is any truth to that?
It's all speculation, but. Anyone who's in power right now, I would think, could be very nervous because Eric Bischoff, I believe, is going to bring in his own crew. I think he wants to bring in as many of his own wrestlers and certainly his own production crew and his own booking crew as much as he can. I think he wants his team. He wants it to be his team as opposed to this team that was not a successful team.
Yeah.
So. Plus, he wants the loyalty.
And he wants the loyalty, exactly. Because, the worst thing that can happen is you get all these guys. I mean, I think that he knows it from what happened to him. He wants a team that's not going to backstab him, because, he got demoted like September of '99. And granted, it probably was the right thing at the time, although they didn't do much better without him. But they actually did worse.
Looking back at the Russo era?
No, but it still was. No, I mean, they just made the wrong call with Russo. That was the big problem. Because, we both know at that time that this thing could have been turned around September 99. No problem. No problem. And then they did everything wrong. And what are you going to do? Anything else, Wes?
Also, I also wanted to ask you about, in regards to Kevin Nash's contract. Doesn't that go off this year?
Is it like 13 more months? I haven't been keeping up.
Yeah.
You remember how much longer he's got?
How much Kevin Nash has?
Yeah.
God, he had the exact date on a Nitro a little while ago, and I forget what it was. It was like a year and 6 months or something.
Yeah, I think it's 13 to 16 months, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
So.
Also, my last question. I've heard some rumors about they're going to bring up, which is, it's not a shock considering who's involved, but the Diamond Dallas Page Steiner to, get the angle over what happened backstage some time back.
I think Paige is going to talk about it tonight.
Yeah. I would think that they would. Yeah, well, he's going to have to talk about... Now, wait a minute.
I think they're doing one of those promos tonight where Paige is going to talk about everything.
Yeah, like Shane Douglas's, I guess, on Thunder. So.
Okay, but the problem with this is this story is... Okay, he's going to have to embellish that story. Because the true story is not a good story for Paige. I mean, if it was Scott Steiner was the babyface and Paige was the heel, that's okay. But to go in there and go... he said this stuff about me, and it wasn't scripted, and I went down there to kick his ass, and I was taken down in 10 seconds, and I was about to be killed, and they couldn't pull him off me, and I could do absolutely nothing to save myself. I don't think that's going to help sell tickets.
No, I think what it's going to be is he's going to talk about the whole thing, how it started with Kimberly and everything like that. I don't think they're going to address the incident.
Okay. Well, then he should.
But knowing Bischoff.
Well, you can't, hopefully they're smart enough to know that the babyface cannot go in there and go, I went in there and he kicked my ass without any problem. So pay to see me get beat up again on the next pay-per-view. Anything else?
That's all I got, guys. Appreciate the comment.
Did we have a fire alarm go off in the last segment?
I think it was Wes's fire alarm.
Okay, I thought it was mine.
It wasn't.
I went during the commercial and the house was on fire, so I was wondering if I was going crazy.
It was yours?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, it wasn't mine. I know that for sure.
I'll blame Wes.
I think it was Wes's. Let's see. What do you think of Shawn Michaels as referee and it's a three-way at WrestleMania? I don't want Shawn Michaels as referee. I want them to do like a match.
Because of the shorts or for other reasons?
I just want Shawn Michaels to referee, the semi-main event. I want Rock and Austin to just be mano-y-mano and just let him do it because it's a guaranteed winner and you don't need to gimmick it up. And they should be able to have a great match.
Remember when Michaels was at that show, probably about 6 months ago? I can't remember when it was, but he was going to referee or something, and Hunter just looks over and goes, "You're not going to wear those shorts, are you?"
Now, I cracked up when he said
that. Isn't that the equivalent of Chris Jericho saying that X-Pac came back with the same greasy hair, the same tights, same everything? I think it is.
Yes, but...
I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. How come nobody found it disturbing that the mock funeral last week began with Kevin Nash's photo with the date February 18, 2001 as his death date? February 18th was the death date for both Kerry Von Erich in 1993 and Eddie Gilbert in 1995. I'm sorry, it really bothered me to see WCW use February 18th as Nash's death day when Kerry Von Erich and Eddie Gilbert died on that day.
I'm sure they had no clue.
I'm sure they had no clue. If there was any problem, it was because Dale Earnhardt's death day was February 17th. But no, I think it's something that it just popped up in nobody's head.
It was the day of the pay-per-view, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the day of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's why I got that date.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done plenty of things that have exhibited total cluelessness. So I would not be surprised if they didn't have.
I wouldn't even call that cluelessness. It's just were you going to remember that off the top of your head?
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to remember that? I didn't remember. If I didn't remember it, I can't blame them for not remembering it. What did you think of Kurt Angle's blatant cursing during last night's main event? I was really surprised at that, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
I think they've done such an awesome job with him Thursday and Sunday. It's just too bad that it took so long.
They did a great job with him, and he, in the announcing and everything. I mean, they really tried to put him over as a big-time player. You said the WWF doesn't like to do the same match 2 years in a row at WrestleMania. It seems to me, this is from Greg in Canada, that Vince has been trying to do that many times. It just never works out. Brett and Shawn were supposed to do it 2 years in a row, but they didn't. That's true. Brett and Austin were supposed to do it 2 years in a row. Yeah, sort of. I mean, there definitely was a plan for that WrestleMania 14 to be Brett and Austin, where Brett would lose to Austin. That was a plan, but it didn't happen. And then Rock and Austin at WrestleMania 15, they wanted Rock and Austin for WrestleMania 16, but he got hurt. That's right. So he's been trying to do it every year. He just never has.
I guess so. Well, he'll do it this year, hopefully.
Yeah. Does WWF or WCW have any interest in Sabu, Rob Van Dam, or Psychosis? I don't think anyone has any interest in Sabu or Psychosis. I think that Rob Van Dam, there may be interest in WCW. Maybe. Depending on his asking price. Let's see. Didn't Scott Steiner break Booker T's sternum? I think he bruised. Was it broken or bruised?
I don't think it was broken or cracked or anything like that. That's what we first thought, but I think it turned out it was just like bruised or something.
Let's see. The XFL has me excited because we finally have a ratings war. It appears that Nitro this week has a great shot at beating the NBC rating.
Think about that.
Last year, the WWF said they would have 100,000 people at the Astrodome, but now I'm hearing 60,000. Why is this? Are ticket sales down? No. The building holds like 65. It's going to be sold out. They got 62 sold already.
I think 100,000 last year they were going to do the deal where they counted the 30,000 people at the Access Festival over the weekend and added that to the 65,000 to come up with that number.
Right. That was the plan. Does ECW ever plan on having their television show back on in New York? I don't know if ECW even exists to have a television show. Let's see. on their radio show minutes ago, actually this is more than minutes ago because this email was sent hours ago. So hours ago, Opie and Anthony were discussing their recently canceled XFL pregame show. You know about that?
Is that the station that refuses to talk about XFL now?
No. Opie and Anthony are New York guys. They were doing a pregame show that was going to be picked up in New York and several markets before the XFL game on Saturday night, and it got canceled, I think, a week ago because as bad as the ratings for the XFL game were, obviously the pregame show ratings were even worse. So it got canceled. So anyway, they said that Vince McMahon has offered to be interviewed by Phil Mushnick many times, but Mushnick is too much of a pussy to do it.
Yeah.
That's a good way of saying things. I don't know. Vince McMahon has offered to meet with Phil Mushnick, and Phil Mushnick has said no. At the same time, there was a TV show where they were supposed to be on together, and Vince McMahon pulled that little swerve about 2 years ago. So, which would tend to believe that it was Vince McMahon was the one who kind of pussied out of that confrontation. So, call names on both of them, but they're probably unfair on both sides. Well, no, that's not unfair on Vince's side. Not unfair to call Vince's name on that one. No way. That was, you go on there and you say he doesn't have enough guts to be here when he's right there on the line, and you said and you tell him that I'm walking out if you put him on the show. Yeah, what kind of crap? That's crap. Anyway,